I'm so excited to be reviewing The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. You all probably think I'm lying at this point because I give all of these books glowing reviews, but it's true, this is a great one. And I know I've already done a review on habits, maybe I'm just getting into the habit of it. I reviewed Atomic Habits, which I think this book is actually a very nice compliment to, or maybe vice versa because this book was written first. Point is, they are both very useful. And this book was actually recommended to me by Eric Lorch. If you don't know Eric, you are missing out. Thank you, Eric, for this one. So today I'm going to talk about three things: an analogy that was really helpful for me in understanding habits, then I'll briefly touch on cues, and then lastly, wrap it up with some willpower. I wanted to start with a quote that was included in the book that most clearly described for me the power of habits. So William James says, "Water hollows out for itself a channel which grows broader and deeper, and after having ceased to flow, it resumes. When it flows again, the path traced by itself before." So to me, this is a very beneficial way to think about habits. Think about when it rains, the water carves paths into the ground. And when it rains again, that is where the water flows. So another visual that came to mind was one of digging channels. And this feels a bit more active, involved. And that's really what we do every time we build a habit. We're picking up shovels and getting down in the dirt to hollow out a channel for the water of our actions to flow. So poetic. The more we do something, the deeper those channels get, and the more ingrained the habit is. So habits are super beneficial because they allow our brains to not fully participate in decision making. This saves us a lot of energy. You wouldn't want to have to learn how to drive a car every time you got into the car. But obviously, if your channels are unhealthy and not beneficial to your life, then autopilot actions are not what you want. However, we hold the shovel. We have the power to redirect the water and the channels it flows into. And really, that's what this book is about. Duhigg says, unless you deliberately fight a habit, unless you find new routines, the pattern will unfold automatically. So the habits we have might be ingrained, but with a bit of a fight, we can overtake them and replace them with habits that we are truly proud of. And so before we dive into the ideas of cues next, it's worth reviewing briefly how Duhigg breaks down how a habit is built. So there's a cue, a routine, then a reward. So here's an example. Cue. You get a text on your phone. You feel it buzz or you hear it ring. Routine. You check the phone. Reward is momentary distraction. So what happens when you get the cue is that your brain starts craving the distraction you receive when you check that text. And if that goes unsatisfied, it makes you distracted. Think about how utterly distracting it is when you hear your phone ring or you feel it vibrate and you can't check it. It's like not being able to scratch an itch. But you could remove the cue by silencing your phone or moving it to another room. Therefore, you are never starting on the path of craving momentary distraction. So cues are very important. When it comes to understanding our habits, one thing is we should be aware of what the cues we have are, and then what triggers our habits. We forget to pay attention to what actually causes our habits. And so being aware to me is the first step. So for example, I have a tendency to want to snack, but I never considered why I really wanted to snack. It didn't seem like there was an exact cue. It wasn't like turning the TV on or grabbing a book. Snacking happened almost seemingly random. So this book helped challenge me to understand what the common denominator was behind my habit, which turns out I think was wanting to accomplish something and then maybe a smidge of boredom in there. But with a case like this, I can have that same cue, a craving for accomplishment, and then simply replace the routine with something that would give me the same reward that snacking does without adding the extra pounds. So I could replace it with doing a few jumping jacks or taking a lap around my kitchen, playing a brain game, checking something off my checklist. All of this would give me that same sort of reward, that feeling of accomplishment. The same thing like finishing a bowl of goldfish. And so this idea can be applied to other habits as well. Think about the reward you are really wanting and find something that satisfies that reward in a healthy way. So it's that sort of like double whammy of situational, removing the cues, and then also replacing the bad routine with a good one. And next, we're going to talk about willpower. So I love this section. Willpower is learnable. Let me say it again. Willpower is learnable. This book explains a very interesting study that took place. So there's a group of undergrad students who were told the experiment was to test taste perceptions. So they would go into a room with a table that had a bowl of warm, freshly baked cookies, good, and then a bowl of radishes, yuck. Half of the students were instructed to eat cookies and ignore radishes sitting on the table. I'm sure that was very hard. And then the other half were instructed to ignore the cookies and eat the radishes. After they did this, they were tasked with solving a puzzle. It was simple looking, but in reality, the puzzle was impossible to solve, and they were under the impression that you could solve it. But if you wanted to stop, all you had to do was ring the bell. So the radish eaters and the cookie eaters responded to this puzzle very differently. The cookie eaters were relaxed and spent on average 19 minutes attempting to solve the problem before giving up. The radish eaters, however, had a bit of a harder time, and I don't blame them. They were easily frustrated, complaining, and on average worked for only 8 minutes. So what does this mean? Our willpower can be depleted. It is a muscle that needs to be exercised. Other studies have shown that improving your willpower in one area helps to improve other areas of life because the strength of your willpower touches everything else. The book explains that having stronger willpower changes your thinking and helps you to regulate impulses. So it uses the term self-regulatory strength. And I've always wondered how to practically practice exercising willpower and self-control. For me, I think it has a lot to do with sticking to your word and doing what you will say, because that takes self-control and willpower. We so often break our commitment to ourselves, which in my mind weakens our willpower and puts us in the habit of giving up. Recently, I lost a bet and had to sugar fast for 21 days. If you know me, you know this is a true challenge. And if you don't know me, but have watched some of my videos, I mention ice cream in most of them, so you know this is a challenge. As I near the end of my fast, the person I lost the bet to said I could stop if I really wanted to. But I really didn't want to dig a channel in my mind where it was okay to give up. So I didn't. And now I would definitely say my willpower is stronger. It's easier for me to say no to dessert or sugar, maybe not ice cream, and easier to say yes to good things. And I'll be interested to see how it affects other areas of my life as well. And then a bonus lesson today. Something that I really have learned just over the past year reading is that we are seriously responsible for ourselves. And it seems overwhelming to have to truly be in charge of our habits, actions, emotions, but we are. And the more we practice taking each habit captive, each action captive, each thought captive, the stronger we will become and the easier it will be for us to take responsibility for ourselves. We also have a greater chance of becoming the people we aspire to be. So that's my little aside for today. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you found it helpful, please feel free to pass it along to others. And don't forget to follow the hashtag #TheSpinalTap. And until next time, happy reading.